Wednesday, November 10th, 2010, Apple Valley, Ohio. There was a woman named Tina who worked at the local Dairy Queen. She missed a day of work. Her co-workers were worried about her because this is unusual for Tina because she's always so responsible. She always comes to work on time, every time. She is a single mother, so she needs to make her money. So when she didn't show up to work, a co-worker grew very concerned for her well-being, so she decided to drive past Tina's house. And she did see Tina's car in the driveway. She also seen another car in the driveway that wasn't Tina's. She was like, what's going on? She got out of her car and she went to the front door. She started knocking on the door, banging on the door, calling out Tina's name, looking through the window. She didn't see anything. She called the police and they were like, okay, what's going on? She explained to them that she never misses work and she's here at her house now and no one's answering the door. And the police were like, okay, we'll send a car out there to check on her. They sent 2 police officers at 2 different times that day, but same thing, no one answered the door. There was no activity in the home through the window at all. So the police just kind of left it alone. They found out that Tina had 2 kids, a boy and a girl. And so they did call the school to figure out, did the kids go to school that day? So they did find out that the kids did go to school that day, but they did miss the next day, which was Thursday. So Valerie heard wind of this and she took it upon herself once again to go to Tina's home. But this time she only seen 1 car. Tina's car was not there anymore. It was just the other car that was in the driveway with Tina's. She did not know who this car belonged to at that time, but now she found out that it's actually Stephanie's car, which is Tina's best friend. So she's like, how is Stephanie's car in the driveway, but Tina's car is not in the driveway? So she goes and she knocks on the door again and she's banging. And then at this point, she saw a window that was open. She went through it because she was really concerned at this point. I don't think I could be this diehard. I probably would have left it up to the police, but I do appreciate her braveness because, girl, she went through the window and what she saw was a crime scene. She saw blood all over the floor. There was blood everywhere. There was blood on the carpet. She started walking through the hallway. She looks in the bathroom and there's blood all over the bathroom, everywhere. So she panics, freaks out, leaves the house, and she goes outside and she calls the police again. So the police tell her, don't go back in there, stay outside, you know, okay, we'll be over there, give us a minute. So they send all these police over there to go check out the crime scene. At this time, they knocking at the door and nobody's answering. So then the police basically get in the house, just like Valerie did. And they saw the crime scene and they're like, okay, now we need to open an investigation because this is crazy. Like, what the heck happened to Tina? What the heck happened to Stephanie? Because when Valerie was calling about Tina being missing, Stephanie's boyfriend was also calling the police about her being missing because she wasn't answering any phone calls, any texts, anything. And so now the police know that there are 4 victims missing. So now they're like, oh my God, maybe they're in here dead. I don't know. Let's check it out. So they go check it out. Didn't find anybody in the home. But they did find Walmart shopping bags in the garage with heavy-duty trash bags in them. They also found a receipt from Walmart that had a t-shirt, a turkey sandwich, the large heavy-duty trash bags, and also 2 tarps. So they look at the receipt and they look at where the Walmart was that the items were purchased from, and they go to the Walmart to check the surveillance. In the midst of this, Tina's boyfriend is contacted. Now, what they do know about Tina's boyfriend is that Valerie did tell them that she's missing, but at the same time, she just broke up with her boyfriend and he could be a bit of an asshole. His mom contacted him to tell him what's going on. Tina's missing. He blew it off because, you know, they're not together. So what Tina's boyfriend did tell the police was that he had Wednesdays off, which coincidentally was the same day that Tina went missing. Now, they found out what he was doing during that time, and his name is George, by the way. What George was doing at that time, he actually had the day off, but he picked up a shift at the Kmart distribution center to get more hours. He worked from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. and it was about an hour and a half away. So he's not even in town during her murder. He's actually hour and a half away working, and then after work he didn't even come home after work. He went to his friend's house who was in that town as well, and he decided to go to his friend's house because he wanted to go golfing with his friend the next day. He stayed at his friend's house, and his friend corroborated his story and said that they just ate dinner and watched TV all night. So the police are like, okay, you got an alibi. They sent a SWAT team to Matthew's home, and they were able to obtain a search warrant that said that they didn't have to knock or didn't even have to say his name before they entered his home. So they decided to ram in the door, and they threw in a grenade. When they got in the house, they saw Matthew lying on the couch looking dazed and confused. They told him to put his hands up, and he refused. And they went over and just arrested him and put him outside immediately. After that, he decided to cooperate. They went into the home, and that's where the weirdness began. They look to the right and see the entire floor is filled with leaves that belong on the outside. They searched through the leaves because they thought that maybe Matthew had hidden the bodies under the leaves. So they searched, and they were relieved to find that there were no bodies under the leaves, so that was good. So they continued to search, and they looked in a locked room, and it seemed like there was like a marijuana growing type of operation that wasn't active at the time, but it was a little weird to have that growing in a locked room. They closed that door, and they looked in the bathroom, and they saw that the bathroom was filled with leaves as well. From the floor to the ceiling, just bags of leaves. It was insane. They left out of that room. They go in the kitchen. They go in the freezer. They saw 2 dead squirrels, no bag, just out in the freezer next to 2 red popsicles. They closed the door like, okay, it's this guy. They continued to search the home. They start to go to the basement, but the basement was blocked by a cabinet. So they moved the cabinet out the way, and they proceed to go downstairs to the basement. Go to the basement, and they find Tina's daughter, Sarah, lying on a sleeping bag, which was on top of a pile of, leaves, wearing a makeshift diaper made out of a plastic bag. She was looking so dazed and confused. She kept asking about her dog Tanner, where he was, and she kept saying that she was late for school. They decided to send her to the hospital so that she can get examined, and that is where they questioned her, and she just let out all the information. She said that her and her brother came home from school, and they were immediately attacked by Matthew. He attacked her brother first, and then he took her, tied up her hands and feet, and put her in the basement. He then took her from the basement and put her in her mom's car and drove the car to a college campus parking lot. He covered her with blankets, and he just left her. Then he went home and grabbed some more stuff, came back to the car, retied her up with gloves and duct tape this time, and took her back to his house and put her in his basement. Within the 4-day span, he cut her fingers with a knife. He repeatedly assaulted her, and he told her that he was going to release her before Christmas. He never told her what he did with the others. Meanwhile, back in jail, Matthew was cutting up. He was going crazy. They had to put him on a 24-hour watch because he was threatening to kill himself. He was crying, he was screaming, he was yelling. It was too much. So they finally took him out of the jail cell, and they started questioning him, because I know they're like, oh, you got all this energy to do all that, let's get these questions answered. At first he was trying to act like he didn't want to respond to any of the questions that they were asking him. After 4 hours of playing good cop bad cop, he finally cracked, and he did give up, just a little bit of information. He mentioned that he did take care of Sarah. He wasn't all bad. He took care of Sarah. He said he fed her. He said he let her watch Iron Man. He said he even let her borrow his Treasure Island book. At the same time, he was crying, saying he didn't know what he did. He didn't know what happened. He didn't know where those people were that they were saying he killed. He has no recollection